Quiet Place. A Quiet Place was released in 2018 and it's starred by John Krasinski and stars Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. And basically, the film is set in a post-apocalyptic future in which monsters hunt people by the sounds which they make. And in the film, we follow the Abbott family who are trying to keep as quiet as possible to survive as long as possible. And in the Abbott family, we have the mother, played by Emily Blunt, who is pregnant and will have to give birth in this post-apocalyptic future where monsters are hunting people by the sounds which they make. So she'll have to give birth as quiet as possible. As you can imagine, that's going to be quite difficult. And at the same time, though, we also have the father in the Abbott family, played by John Krasinski in the film, who's trying to protect his wife, who's going to go into labour at some stage in the film. But at the same time, though, trying to protect the 3 kids they already have from these sound-hunting monsters. And as you can imagine, a lot of complications occur as his family tries to survive from these sound-hunting monsters. And that's basically the plot of A Quiet Place. And honestly, there are so many parts of the film which I love, but I don't love the film as a whole. Like, I must admit, there's so many parts of the film which I do really love. Like, I love the openings in the film. I love how it sets the atmosphere for the rest of the film. I'm like, ooh, now you're in for this whole film, and now this is what you're going to get. And I love the opening in the film. And at the same time, though, I love the way it sounds in the film. I love how just normal sounds of the film are amplified into like one big jump scare. Because, like, it's even in the title. The film's called A Quiet Place. And honestly, the film is quite quiet in some stages. And then just normal sounds of the film, like, I don't know, a ball game being knocked over, is amplified, and it just works so well in the film. At the same time, though, I also love the fact that there's only 2 scenes in the whole of the film we actually see 2 characters verbally speak to each other through dialogue. Most of it's done through sign language in the film, which I just think is genius. And at the same time, though, I love the family dynamic in the film. I love the performances from everyone. Everyone's doing a fantastic job in the film. And at the same time, though, I think the scene where Emily Blunt's character, who's the mother in the Abbott family, goes into labour is just masterful. I think it's so brilliant, and I just think it builds up intensity in that scene just so well. And I love the end of the film as well. I love the end of the film, how it literally leaves you wanting more. You get to the end of the film, you go, oh, I want to see where that film goes. I want to see where the story goes. And obviously, we're going to see that very, very soon on May the 25th with A Quiet Place 2, which I'm really excited for. But honestly, I love the end of the film. I just love it where, that's the time in the film, and that is just brilliant. But I must admit, I don't love the film as a whole. And I'm not sure why, but it's probably just because I'm not the biggest fan of horror films in general, I must admit. Like, I think my reason for not really liking horror films is the fact that I just don't really like to be scared, to be honest. And I think A Quiet Place is a really good film. I do. But I just don't love it overall. I think it works where it needs to, and I really like that about it. And that's what I'm going to focus on in this review. Not the fact that I don't love it, even though I really want to love it. No, the thing I'm going to focus on is the fact that I do actually really like this film. And there's so many reasons that I do really like it. For example, the fact is, it's an original horror film which works. It's an original horror film come out the past, 5-10 years, which works really well. Like, quite a lot of horror films nowadays, with the exception of Jordan Peele's Get Out and Jordan Peele's Us, which both are really good films, by the way, but with the exception of, Get Out and Us, there's a lot of horror films nowadays which, sequels, reboots, or remakes, and it's just be like, okay, they can be good. I'm not saying they can't be good, but at the same time, though, I miss that originality from horror films, like some like Silence of the Lambs, or some like The Shining, which are really good films in my opinion. And then you get down to this film, and it's like, oh, it's an original horror film, which works. There's lots of original Netflix horror films, but the fact is, they're on Netflix for a reason. They don't work. But the thing is, with this film, it works. It's an original horror film, which works, and I love that about it. I mean, yes, there are some problems in the logic that the world has created, but first of all, those problems might be answered in the second film. Why doesn't the family just go and live by the waterfall? Because you see one scene in the film, the characters can actually verbally speak at the waterfall. The monsters don't go near the waterfall in the film, and I think, why don't the characters go and just live by the waterfall in the film? There's problems like that in the film, but first of all, they might all be answered in the second film, and second of all, it doesn't really bother me in the long run, though. It doesn't really bother me when I look back on the film and go, okay, yes, there's some problems that the world has created, but at the same time, though, it works, which is what I'm going to take from it. It works in where it needs to work. It works in the horror side of it. Like I said, simple everyday sounds. Like I said, when a ball game gets knocked over, or where you just hear like a sound, you hear someone hear creak on the door, and just things like that, which work really well. Like that amplifying the film, like ooh, and they get jumped like ooh, and it works really well. The fact that it's an original horror film and it works, and at the same time, though, like I said, I love the use of sound in the film. I could go on and on about the use of sound in the film, but I just think it's genius. I really love the use of sound. First of all, I love the fact, like I said, that just normal sounds of the film are amplified into big jump scares. And so many horror films do that. Sometimes you get like a creaky door, or some guy just pop up and they're like, ooh, boom, and it's like, that's a jump scare in a horror film. But the thing is, in this film, it's like, it's unique to the film, and I love that about it. At the same time, though, I also love the fact that all the characters mainly speak through sign language of the film. Like, I know Millicent Simmonds who might pronounce her name wrong, who plays a daughter in the Abbott family, who's quite a key character in the film, by the way. I know in real life the actress is actually deaf, so she actually uses sign language herself, but the fact is, all the other characters use sign language to communicate with each other as well. Like I said, there's only 2 scenes in the whole of the film where 2 characters actually verbally speak to each other. There's one scene at the waterfront, which I spoke about in this video already, and at the same time though, there's also one scene between John Krasinski and Emily Blunt at one stage where they're talking about trying to get the 3 kids to survive because they're all scattered all over the place in this farm at one stage, where they just talk about, oh, don't worry, they can easily survive, and it's something like that. It's quite a cheesy American scene. I'm not gonna lie, that second scene where the 2 characters spoke to each other verbally through dialogue was probably one of the weakest parts of the film, in my opinion. That's actually quite a weak scene, but I love the fact that all the characters speak to each other through sign language. I love that it's just so atmospheric. Like, every single sound of the film just seems so important. At the same time, though, I love the musical score by Marco Beltrami in the film. I'm pronouncing his name up, probably am, but the musical score just works so well. It's so atmospheric, and it's so fantastic to listen. Honestly, it really is. I really love this musical score of the film. I love the way it's used, and I think it's a massively underrated score. I really do, and I'm really looking forward to his score for the second film as well. And at the same time, though, I love the family dynamic. I love the performance of the film. I love that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, 2 people who've been a couple for like 8 years when the film came out, work really well in the film. Like, a lot of times when couples do a film together, the chemistry isn't always there, but the chemistry between those 2 actually works really well in the film. And I think the performance is so believable. The family dynamic is so believable, which is something you need from this film. You really believe this is the family you're watching, and the heartbreak and the toughness and the sadness that they're going through, and it's just played so well by the performances. And another thing which I love about this film, which isn't really about the film, but at the same time kind of is the fact that John Krasinski, who played Jim in the American version of The Office, actually went from directing some episodes of The Office and some of the later seasons to go into direct a family drama called The Hollers in 2016. I haven't seen that film, although I would like to be honest, to go into directing this film in 2018, a horror film, an original horror film at that. I just love that he has done that. I love that he's gone from The Office to a family drama to a horror film. I love that, and I think the film is really well directed at that. Like, the suspense and intensity that you feel in some of the scenes, particularly that scene which I mentioned, when you see Emily Blunt's character, the mother, going into labour, it's such an intense scene, and it's played so well in the film. And I just think the film is really well directed. I love the fact that, John Krasinski has gone from playing Jim in The Office all the way over here, directing a pretty damn good horror film. And I think that's really fantastic. And at the same time, though, it is just a really good film in the end. It's really enjoyable to watch. And yes, it has its problems in the logic of the film. I go on and on about the problems of the logic and the world it's creating and everything. But at the same time, no, I don't care that the film has problems. Because it's an original horror film which worked. So many horror films, like I said, recently nowadays, in like the past 5-10 years, are just remakes, sequels, reboots, or whatever. You get the point. They're not original, but yet this film is, and it works. I love the idea. I love the idea of sounding into monsters. I think that's genius. I think it's a really well put together film. I think John Krasinski did a superb job directing his, second feature-length film. And bear in mind, his first feature-length film was a family drama. This is quite a different step to a family drama. Although, actually saying that, it isn't. At the same time, though, it is a family drama. One thing I haven't really talked about is the fact that it's a film about family in the end. Yes, it's a horror film, but at the same time, the cinema, it's a film about family, which works really well. And again, that all comes down to the family dynamic in the film, which is just played off so well. And one thing I almost forgot to mention, how do I forget to mention that? One of the best things about the film is it's a film about family. And I just love that about it. I love that it's a film about family, and you watch this family go through all this hell in the film, essentially, and yet it works so well. It's more from our family, but at the same time, though, the whole works. I really like that about it, in my opinion. And at the same time, though, going back on the films I really like, I love the use of sound in the film. I love the fact that John Krasinski has gone from directing episodes of The Office to directing a family drama to directing this film. I think that's fantastic. And at the same time, though, I think it's a really enjoyable film. I really like it, although I don't love it. And I do really want to love it. I've seen this one twice now, and both times I really want to love it, especially on the second time. I sat down to watch it a couple of nights ago, actually, do the review today, and I was like, oh, come on, I really want to love this film, and I got to the end thinking, it's still really good, but I just don't love it. But that's fine, and in the end, it's still really enjoyable in my opinion. I really enjoy watching it. I think it's a really good horror film. I think it's a really good original horror film at that. At the same time, though, I think it's a really enjoyable film and a lot of fun, and honestly, a very unexpected surprise. I remember watching this film for the first time on DVD in 2018, and just thinking, wow, what a good horror film. And when I sat down to watch the film a couple of nights ago now, for the first time since I watched the film back in 2018, I got to the end of the film and thinking, yeah, it's still as good as I remember it. And that's what I like so much about this film. And so all in all, I'm going to say that Quiet Place, I'm going to say that's 8 out of 10. Yes, I don't love this film, and that just kind of disappointed me. It is one of those films I really want to love. Everyone else I know says, oh, it's so good, oh, I absolutely love the idea and everything. And the thing is, I do love the idea. There's so many parts of the film which I love, but I just don't love the film as a whole. But that's fine in the end. I still really enjoy it. I still really like it. I still think it's a really, really good horror film. I just don't love it. But you know what? I still think it's really fun to watch. It's really enjoyable. It's scary when it needs to be. I love the use of sound in the film. I love the fact that all the characters communicate through sign language as well. I just think that's so unique about it and so genius. At the same time though, I just think it's a really good original horror film. Sure, it's not perfect, and sure, it does have its problems, but personally, I really, really like it. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that A Quiet Place is an 8 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of A Quiet Place? Please do comment down below and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more both film and TV reviews come very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!